All right, let's dive into the future of higher ed today. We're looking at this top 50 voices list. It's from Vevox,
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
a company that does audience engagement software.
Oh,
But 50's a lot, so we're focusing on the standouts, especially for you listening, what's going to be useful,
yeah, it's a really interesting mix of people, honestly. It's not just like the usual academics, which is cool.
Totally. I mean, we've got university presidents like Michael Crow from Arizona State.
Oh, yeah, big name.
And then you've got tech people like Anand Agarwal. He founded edX.
I was just going to say, edX is huge.
And even journalists like Katie Drummond from Wired.
Oh, yeah, how cool.
So this mix of backgrounds, what's it telling us about higher ed, the challenges, the good stuff, all of it?
Well, I think having Agarwal and Daphne Collar there, she co-founded Coursera.
Right. Huge.
Really shows how much online education is changing things. It's not just a fad anymore.
It's like the thing.
Yeah, it's reshaping everything. But this list goes beyond just tech, so it feels like a bigger conversation is happening.
Okay, so accessibility is key.
Yeah.
For sure. But what other big questions are these folks tackling? What's on their minds?
Equity's a big one. For example, Dr. Sean Harper.
Oh, yeah, from USC.
Yeah, the Race and Equity Center there. He's doing crucial work on racial disparities in higher ed.
Yeah, it's not enough just to get students in the door, right?
Exactly. Got to make sure they have what they need to succeed once they're there.
It's that support system.
Totally.
So many people miss that. All right, we've got tech, we've got equity. What else? What else are these leaders really pushing for?
One thing that sticks out is the link between higher ed and jobs, the future of work,
Yeah, totally.
It's not enough to just prepare students for jobs that existed.
Things are changing too fast.
Right. We got to equip them for jobs that haven't even been invented yet.
Oh, how do you even do that?
Well, someone like Dr. Michelle Weiss, she's a leader in skills-based learning.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and how traditional degrees, they might need to adapt, meet the demands of this crazy job market.
It's funny, that whole idea of getting your 4-year degree and you're set, that's gone.
Totally.
Lifelong learning is the new thing.
Yeah, but how do we make that real for everyone, though?
That's the question.
It's tricky. Look at someone like Madeline Pumariega. She's the president of Miami-Dade College.
Community college.
Right. Her work is about making education a way out of poverty, especially through community college.
Opens up a whole other level of access and equity.
Totally.
So we're seeing this push to broaden what higher ed even is, who it's for.
Absolutely.
Not just these elite institutions.
That's got to be for everyone.
Give everyone the chance to do well in this changing world.
That's the goal, but that's where it gets hard. How do we actually make these big changes?
Yeah, how do you shift a whole system?
Right. How do these ideas become actions?
Okay, before we go into how that might happen, let's talk more about these thought leaders themselves.
Good idea.
Not just list names, but what makes them so interesting.
I like that.
You mentioned Dr. Vijay Govindarajan earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And his 3-box solution. Tell me more about that.
Oh, that's interesting. It's actually made for businesses, his framework.
Okay.
But it totally applies to higher ed. The idea is organizations, they need to balance 3 things: managing the present, forgetting the past, and creating the future.
Wait, forgetting the past, like completely?
Well, he says selectively forgetting, which I like.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So break it down for me. Like, I'm a college, right?
Okay, sure.
What's managing the present look like?
So it's optimizing, your processes, your resources.
Making sure things are running smoothly.
Exactly. Efficiency is key. But there's a catch. Clinging too tightly to how things are, that can actually stifle innovation,
You get stuck in your ways.
Totally.
Okay, so then how does selectively forgetting the past fit in? Like, we're not abandoning tradition entirely, right?
No, it's more like taking a good hard look at what's working, what's not. Being willing to let go of things that aren't serving students anymore. Or, the bigger goals of higher education.
Out with the old.
Could be, yeah.
All right, and then box 3, creating the future. This is where the real disruption is, huh?
This is where it gets exciting. New models, new technologies, new ways of teaching and learning.
Experimentation.
Exactly. Embrace the uncertainty, be okay with failing, and learning from it.
So many schools are terrified of making mistakes, though.
It's true. It's a real challenge.
But how do you innovate if you're not willing to risk anything?
That's the question. These voices on this list, they're showing us it's possible.
They're out there doing it.
Yeah, pushing boundaries, challenging the status quo.
Okay, so Govindarajan's framework gives us a way to think about how higher ed needs to adapt.
A good starting point.
But what about these specific people? How are they putting these ideas into practice?
Okay, well, look at James Wilson, for example.
What's he doing?
He uses interactive storytelling, would teach about mental health, Totally different approach to teaching. Focuses on engagement, emotional connection.
That's so cool. We always try to make learning these neat little boxes, but real learning, it's messy. Right.
It's emotional, it's engaging.
It's human.
And it's not just what you're teaching, it's hey, Tau W, right?
Totally. Like
Yeah.
Brock Toggerson, he changed his whole physics class.
Oh, wow. How'd he do that?
Flipped classroom, team-based learning, the whole 9 yards.
Remind me, flipped classroom, that's where students watch lectures at home and then classes for discussion.
Exactly. So they come ready to apply what they've learned.
Makes it much more active.
Yeah, more collaborative too. And it works really well in STEM fields, like physics, because sometimes those concepts are tough,
This can be very abstract.
Exactly. So it's a great example of tech actually enhancing teaching, not replacing it.
Working together.
It's about making that learning environment more dynamic, more exciting.
I like it. So we've got these big ideas, innovation, equity, and then we've got people actually doing it, being creative.
It's pretty inspiring.
Pretty exciting time to be in higher ed, wouldn't you say?
I think so, definitely.
Yeah.
And what's even cooler is these 50 voices, that's just the beginning.
There's more out there. So many innovators and change makers shaping the future of learning.
All right, so as we move into part 2, we'll explore even more of these innovative approaches
Yeah, wait.
and really dig into what these trends mean for students, for teachers, for anyone who cares about the future of knowledge, really.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. All right, see you in part 2.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've looked at some folks really shaking things up.
Yeah, some cool stuff.
So let's zoom out for a sec. You mentioned tech playing a huge role in how higher ed's evolving.
Oh, absolutely.
What are some ways it's being used, well, beyond just, online courses?
Right. It's about using tech to make learning personal,
Okay, I like that.
more interactive, track student progress in ways that actually make sense.
Data can be good.
Yeah. Think about those adaptive learning platforms. They adjust to how a student learns at their own pace.
It's like personalized tutoring, but with algorithms.
Exactly. A far cry from those giant lectures, huh?
For sure. But are we losing the human touch with all this tech?
Not at all. It actually frees up instructors to do what they're best at. Mentoring, leading discussions, giving feedback that's actually helpful.
So tech helps them be better teachers.
Amplify good teaching, not replace it.
That balance is key.
Totally. But even access us to tech, that can be an equity issue.
Oh, right, the digital divide.
Exactly. Dr. Paul LeBlanc, he's the president of Southern New Hampshire University.
Okay, what's he doing?
He's been a leader in competency-based education, more affordable, accessible, especially for adults who might not have that traditional college background.
So not just about seat time or credit hours.
Nope, it's about showing you've mastered specific skills. Could be huge for people juggling work, family, all that.
Sounds like a game changer.
Could be. But shifting to skills, it brings up a question. How do we make sure those skills actually matter in the job market? Things change so fast.
It's a moving target.
It is, which is why higher ed and industry need to talk to each other.
Break down the walls.
Yeah, no more silos. What's taught in the classroom needs to line up with what employers actually want.
So it's not just about that first job after graduation.
Nope, it's about a whole lifetime of learning, changing careers, adapting.
Which brings us back to Vince Kellen, right?
Yeah, he's a good one.
The CIO for the whole UC system.
Huge job.
Coming from a tech background, not purely academic, how's that affecting his leadership?
He's one of a growing group of leaders who really get how to use tech to improve things for students.
Okay, like what?
He's big on data analytics, using it to spot students who might be struggling, get them help before it's too late.
Be proactive.
Exactly. It's like an early warning system for student success.
Oh, that's powerful.
It is. And it's not just about academics. Tech can also help build a sense of community.
Especially important for students who might feel isolated.
For sure, like they don't belong.
Mhm.
Tech can help bridge those gaps.
Academically and socially.
It's all connected. But I keep thinking, what's holding all this back from happening everywhere?
Yeah, what are the roadblocks?
Honestly, universities can be slow to change. They're huge, complex, with all these traditions and bureaucracy.
Hard to turn a big ship around.
It is, but there are schools leading the way, showing it's possible.
Oh, like who?
Look at Arizona State with Michael Crow. They're a national model for innovation.
They've really embraced online learning.
Big time. Plus, they partner with businesses, focus on serving a really diverse student body.
Their work with first-gen students is awesome.
It is. It shows that a big public school can change, make a difference for students who might not have had this chance otherwise.
It's inspiring.
But not every school has the money or the willpower to make such big changes.
True. resources are limited.
They are, but that's where these individual voices come in. They're challenging how things are done, sharing ideas, inspiring others.
It takes a village.
It really does. It's a collective effort.
Speaking of which, you mentioned Dr. Kathy Ann Davidson.
Oh, yeah, from CUNY.
Her work at the Futures Initiative is about the big picture of education, right? How do we prepare students for a world that's so unpredictable?
She's all about collaboration, learning by doing projects, and breaking down those subject silos. Interdisciplinary thinking.
It's not just about knowing your one little field anymore.
No way. It's about solving real problems that need different skills, different perspectives.
It's less about knowing everything, more about knowing how to learn.
You got it. Cultivate that curiosity, critical thinking. Be okay with not knowing all the answers.
Those are good skills for life, not just school.
Absolutely. So it sounds like the future of higher ed, it's not just about job training. It's about giving students the mindset, the skills to thrive in a world that's always changing.
You said it. It's about equipping them not just with knowledge, but with how to adapt.
To keep learning their whole lives.
All right, we've covered a lot. Tech, equity, future work, these 21st century skills. But there's another piece we haven't talked about yet. Knowledge itself.
Ooh, that's deep.
Right. In a world where info is everywhere, what does it even mean to be educated?
Good question. It's not just memorizing facts anymore.
Nope. It's knowing how to sift through it all, find the truth, turn info into actual knowledge.
And that's where the humanities come in.
Oh, tell me more.
Critical thinking, ethical reasoning, communicating your ideas clearly. Those skills help us understand this complex world.
It's like we need the technical skills. Yeah, those are in demand.
Big time.
But we also need the human skills, the ones that help us make sense of it all.
You're right. It's about nurturing both the mind and the heart.
I love that. Okay, before we wrap up, back to institutional inertia for a sec.
Okay, yeah.
If universities are so hard to change, how did these awesome ideas actually become mainstream?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think it takes leadership from the top and pressure from the bottom.
A two-pronged approach.
Yeah. We need presidents, administrators who are willing to try new things, support innovation, but we also need faculty and students to speak up, say what kind of education they want.
Don't wait for someone else to fix it.
Take charge, push for change from the inside.
I like that. So the future of higher ed, it's not a spectator sport.
Nope, we're all players.
We create it together.
Absolutely.
Well said. All right, we've explored some big challenges, big opportunities.
It's a lot to think about.
In part 3, we'll meet some even more unexpected voices on this list.
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
And what they tell us about how the very idea of being educated is changing in the 21st century.
Can't wait to see what they're up to.
We've talked about some big names, leading the way in tech, equity, all that.
Yeah, the heavy hitters.
But this top 50 list, it's got some surprising people, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Coming at this whole future of education thing from left field.
It's cool, right? It shows how higher education is changing, going beyond just colleges and universities.
Okay, so who are some of these unexpected folks? You mentioned Katie Drummond from Wired.
Oh, she's a great example. It shows how much tech, media, and education are all overlapping these days.
Makes sense. She's at Wired.
Exactly. Global editorial director. She's covering AI, biotech, climate change, all that cutting edge stuff.
So it's not just about using tech in the classroom.
Right. It's bigger than that.
It's about how tech is changing what knowledge even eyes, how we get it.
Totally. Her work shows how education has to keep up with all that. You know, students need those critical thinking skills.
To deal with information overload.
So much information out there. Got to know how to sort through it, figure out what's true.
Be a smart consumer of information.
Exactly. So it's less about teaching what to think, more about how.
I like that. Train your brain.
Right. Be curious, be skeptical, think for yourself.
That makes me think of Tressie McMillan-Cottom, another interesting voice on the list.
Oh, yeah, she's brilliant.
Sociologist, writer, professor. She's come at it from a whole other angle.
She really makes you think about the bigger picture, the power dynamics, who benefits from higher ed, who gets left out.
It's not all sunshine and roses.
Definitely not. Her book, Lower Ed, it was eye-opening. That whole for-profit college industry, how some students get taken advantage of.
Yeah, just because you have access doesn't mean it's a good opportunity.
Sadly, that's true. We have to watch out for those unintended consequences, Make sure we're not making inequality worse.
In the name of progress.
Right. Gotta be critical, ask the tough questions.
Which brings us to Nikhil Goyal.
Oh, I love his work.
Education activist, author, been pushing for student-centered learning since he was a teenager.
He walks the walk.
He challenges that whole traditional model, Teacher knows everything, students just absorb it.
Knowledge is a one-way street.
Yeah, you want something more democratic, more participatory.
Students taking charge of their learning.
We talk so much about what teachers' schools should do.
Right. What about the students?
Shouldn't they have a say in their own education?
Absolutely. Goyle says they're often the best critics of the system. We need to listen to them.
Makes sense.
More student-led stuff, more space to be creative, more flexibility in how we measure learning.
Man, I remember being so frustrated in school sometimes. Couldn't learn the way I wanted to.
So many of us have been there.
What if we design learning around individual needs, what people are passionate about?
That's the kind of big change a lot of these folks are pushing for. It's about recognizing everyone learns differently.
We're all unique.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got tech experts, equity champions, social critics, student activists. This list has it all.
It's a good mix.
But what ties them together? What's that common thread?
I think it's that belief in education's power to change lives, make a better world.
It can do that.
Whether it's through tech or equity or how we teach, these people all want a system that's fairer, more responsive to how the world's changing.
It's more than just getting a job.
Way more. It's about being a good citizen, thinking critically, being a learner for life.
Love it. Well, this has been an amazing deep dive.
My brain is full.
We've covered so much. Tech's impact, equity, those essential human skills. What do you want our listeners to walk away with?
I want them to feel hopeful. The challenges are real, but there's so much potential too.
We can do this.
Brilliant people are working on this, making a future where everyone can learn and thrive.
It's not just up to the experts.
It's on all of us.
Stay engaged, ask questions, fight for the kind of education we believe in.
It's our responsibility, together.
Well said. So to everyone listening, check out this list of 50 voices. Dig deeper into what sparked your interest today, because the future of learning, it's in our hands. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.